listening to ASOTU CON Sessions by Effectv, live from ASOTU CON 2023.
Hey, welcome to this episode of ASOTU CON Sessions by Effectv. I'm sitting down with my new pal, Kirk Preiser. Thanks so much for joining me here today.
Yeah, what's up?
Hey, we were just chatting here pre-show a little bit. You have experience that not a lot of people get to have working at the OEM level through Audi. I want to just quickly pick your brain on that and say, okay, from the vantage point you had working from the OEM level, what were some of the things that you were picking up on that could just scale across the dealer body?
Yeah, I mean, really, we're in a situation now like we've never been before in the industry where there's new players in town that are selling manufacturer direct. Okay, the EV companies are coming in, they're selling directly to the consumer. And what we're hearing by and large is that it's not necessarily the product. In a lot of cases, they've got some really good product out there that the customers are vibing with, they're really enjoying. But in a lot of cases, it's the sales experience that has really turned them on to this new way of purchasing a vehicle. And so we've got this threat coming in that we've got to attack.
Right.
And what we've done in the industry consistently is we've looked at this 30-day cycle where all we're focused on is the new car sales objective in most cases.
Right.
And we really can't find time to really work on our processes and change the business, but we have to start thinking about it. So we're at a situation now where I see across the country, a lot of dealers are kind of in flux where they're not really sure what direction to go, but we've got to double down and take this opportunity to really look at the things that consumers don't enjoy about the traditional sales process and figure out a way to fix them. The technology is there for us to improve the experience. In fact, what I like to tell dealers is that we can deliver a much better experience than what Tesla does. We've got an opportunity, okay, because of the integrations and the technology companies that are out there today and the way they're integrated with the tech stacks at dealers, we can do more online and in-store to connect the consumer experience than what these OEM directs are offering. And what do you
think the barrier to entry on that is?
I think really what it comes down to in a lot of cases is the fact that you got to take one or two steps back sometimes before you can move forward.
Right.
And in the industry has always been one where we can't afford to take a step back, right?
Right.
All these products are coming to market. Manufacturers hit sales targets. Dealers have sales targets. And everybody's kind of hesitant to say, well, yeah, no, I get it. I think I need to change. The industry is changing. The consumer mindset is changing. But if I do this, I might miss my sales objective next month or the following month, et cetera.
Right.
And I think it's that hesitancy, and it's not, they're not sure, they don't have the confidence that heading in that direction and investing the time and energy to changing is really going to pay off in the long run. I think that's the biggest barrier to entry that we have right now.
You know what it makes me think of? Recently, nothing makes you want to get healthy like a fatty liver test result on your blood test. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And when I'm listening, because, well, TMI, but, well, anyways. Point being is, what do? I hire a trainer. Trainer says you're going to eat 5 meals a day.
Right.
Which seems counterintuitive to me. It seems like a backtrack because I'm like, I don't eat 5 meals a day. I intermittent fast, and do all this kind of crap. No, you're going to eat 5 meals a day. You're going to do these calories. You're going to do these macros. And boy, to your point, did I feel like, I said to my wife, I'm taking a step back. I'm actually going to gain weight. I'm going to do all these things. It made me so worried. I had to actually trust the process, which you talked about earlier. And so that's the way I'm thinking about it here. You know what? Maybe you might dip the first month.
Exactly.
But it really makes me think of this, Kirk, like that. What's that quote? If not now, when? Like you're there anyways. Right. You're at the store anyways. Yeah.
I think there's a couple of things that you just hit on. One is you got to recognize your fat before a diet works. Okay.
And
so there's still some people out there in the industry that don't recognize that it's broken. Okay, and figure that the way we've been doing business for the last 100 years works just fine. I'm hitting my sales targets. I'm making lots of money. Everything's good.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Or you've got individuals, and I've met them that said, you know what? I hear you. I understand. The industry's moving slow. I don't have to worry about this. The next guy who replaces me is going to have to worry about this. So I'm going to continue doing what's gotten me to this point, and I'll let them focus on it later.
Somebody else.
Right? So I've heard that as well. But sometimes you do have to take a step back before you move forward. But you gotta have that long-term mindset that you're on the right path,
Right.
and then it's the right thing for you to do. Because if you're going to change some major sales processes, so if you're going to adopt digital retailing in store, okay,
Yeah.
which is one of the biggest things that I'm pushing to dealers today, is that you shouldn't have two different technologies that you're using with the consumer. If you're using a digital retailing tool on your website, like say a Roadster or a Darwin or a CarNow or whatever, and then they come into the dealership or they engage with you and you're using your CRM desking tool to put the deal together,
Right.
you've got two completely different technologies.
Sure.
It's a disjointed experience.
Yeah.
And many of the DR tools can be used in store to put the deals together for the customer. But that's a huge process change. You got to get people, it takes training. It takes weeks of training and follow-up, et cetera. And that takes time that not a lot of people are willing to invest because they could go backwards before they go forward.
Right. And then I think of, well, to your point, this idea of playing the infinite game, which is what hopefully we're doing, requires, to your point, what you're making me think of, requires that you actually finally sit down and document a process with a thesis. Like, if we do this, here is the intended outcome that we believe will result. And I think so, not just in this industry, every business, I mean, families would benefit from a thesis statement and desired outcomes, you know. From your experience, looking at the playing field, what is that starting place? You say, let's build process. You've talked about experience, but where do we start? What's the first thing I could look at and say, that's where I'm going to start, that's what I'm going to tweak?
Yeah, it really goes back to recognizing that you need to start. Okay, so seriously, that's the big part.
Right.
And I mentioned yesterday in our talk that you don't replace your roof when it's raining outside.
Right.
Okay. And when the EV market or the EV vehicles that are being built in the industry right now start flooding into dealerships, okay, and the pressure starts mounting to sell those cars, okay, that's when the rain starts. And so now is the time to recognize that we do need to change. So that's the first step. The second step is that you need to over communicate with all of your employees that you need to change and why, because you have to plant that seed ahead of time before you just throw the change on them. They have to be bought into it. They have to understand why you're going to be going through this. They have to understand the long game. They have to understand that things might be difficult initially. It's going to be different from what they're usually doing if you expect them to buy in and be successful. So that's the next step. The third step, I would say in most cases, is get yourself a personal trainer. Okay, I know there's a lot of discussion out there in the industry with respect to consultants and whether or not they're helpful, and I think there's a lot of consultants out there that are really trying to push some of the old practices in the industry.
Yeah.
So you got to find yourself somebody that is progressive enough to be thinking forward, and then get yourself some help, because some of this stuff is really hard, and you've got to run a business on a daily basis. Okay, you've got employee problems, you have service issues that pop up, you've got all kinds of things going on. You got to worry about facility and hail damaged cars and all that other kind of stuff. And so get yourself some help to move through the process. Find somebody that you trust, that understands it, that has worked with enough dealers to really have some best practices that they can share with you, and then kind of start there. I mean, I could go on, but I mean that you get the point of kind of where to go. But it's finding that personal trainer that's going to write you a diet plan.
It's and they're there as an accountability partner as well to make sure you're sticking to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. That I find that's something that we do all too often. Our human nature says, "Oh yeah, I'm super ambitious about this. This sounds great," and then 7 days go by, and we're like, "This didn't work." You're like, "Really? You gave it 7 days? You're a loser."
Well, but that goes back to the industry as a whole never wants to miss. Right?
Right.
We never want to miss. We never want to go backwards.
It's kind of oxymoronic though, because in the process of not wanting to miss, you're missing.
Yeah. I had a general manager at a dealership that I used to be responsible for that flipped his whole entire dealership over to single point of contact.
Right.
Okay. And he did not use any outside help. super painful. Took him about a year to perfect the process. He'll tell everybody to this day, I almost lost my job over it. Okay. But looking back now, they are so much more profitable, more successful. They have a higher loyalty. They don't have any turnover. And he'll tell me today, I would never go back to the way that we were doing business before. But he had to go backwards for a long period of time, to the point of where his job was in jeopardy. He was able to deflect that pressure, get his ownership to buy into the long-term vision. They were able to make it through it, and they've been one of the most successful dealerships since then.
Yeah, just the closing thought here for me is, if you haven't noticed, times are changing. Get with the program, or off you go, right? That's what's going to happen. So many people in 08, 09 were like, oh, I don't want to be the other one of the ones that had to shut down. It's like, well, then do something about it.
Yeah.
Change. I love it. Kirk Preiser, thanks so much for joining me here on ASOTU Con Sessions. How can those listening or watching learn more about you and get in touch with you?
Yeah, just follow me on LinkedIn. Kirk Preiser, KirkPreiser on LinkedIn. Connect with me there. Follow me there. Would love to talk to you. Love to help in any way. I just want to help the industry move forward. That's really my passion. Just changing the industry one dealer at a time.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you.